Hi, I'm David March, and welcome to Land of Confusion Show, the Ricochet show for members by members, where we interview members. Here's my co-host Don.
Member.
Mhm.
Yeah, hi. I'm here on my porch.
Mhm.
And who do we have today?
We have Mr. Bitcoin at your specific request there, Don.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Hello, Mr. Bitcoin.
Hello, Don. Hello, David.
First off, we got to ask: is there a Mrs. Bitcoin?
No, there isn't. There is not a Mrs. Bitcoin.
Okay.
So Norm, I was talking to you a little before the show started, and I just wanted to get through. You said you didn't have anything prepared, but I know you and Don really want to get into actual talking about Bitcoin. But I was hoping to find out a little bit about yourself. Do you mind sharing us your name, or do you prefer Mr. Bitcoin?
Hold on. I got the mute button that time.
Yeah.
Oh,
Apologies,
sure.
I had a cough.
Oh, no problem, no problem. So, let's see. Where should I start? So, I live in Los Angeles, specifically Brentwood, which is near Santa Monica in West LA. I'm not sure how familiar you are with LA geography, but I used to just tell people Santa Monica because like it's easy to spot, and I kind of live close to Santa Monica versus trying to get into the actual different neighborhoods of Los Angeles.
So how far away from OJ, the OJ incident, is that?
So I probably about like 5 minutes from the from the murder scene.
Wow.
And yeah, actually, like this has been maybe, I don't know, 2018, 2019. And I was meeting a friend for lunch, in my neighborhood, and then afterwards we decided to just take a walk, and so we were on Bundy, and actually I remember now, it was right around the time when FX was aired its like docudrama version of OJ, the people
Oh
versus
yeah.
OJ Simpson. And so I think she and I were both talking about it, and so like we were walking, and I could tell, wait, we're like near the murder scene. So like what I did was that address no longer exists. I believe it was 875 Bundy Drive, like that was the actual address, but that number has gone away. It's now like 871, 873, 879.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and then
It's reasonable. That's reasonable, I think.
Right. And then
it's a good kind of canceling.
Exactly. And then they completely redid the facade of the building. So before it was kind of there may have been a gate, like a gate code, but it was fairly visible, from the front, but now it's completely like I think there's a brick wall. There are like tons of trees covering it. So so the people who live in that building want to just keep it as hidden as possible. So what I did
alternatively, you could charge admission.
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Step right up. See the.
But it probably gets annoying after, I don't know, a year or 3 months. I mean I'm just guessing. And then so what I did was, instead of trying to view the front, I decided to take her through the back alley, where OJ presumably parked his vehicle, so so I took, so we went to the alley, and then we could see, like the back of the apartment, and like the back of the apartment hadn't changed much, because and I think there was even like the 875 number somewhere. I wasn't quite sure, and so I don't know, like I guess that's a weird tour to give someone, but it was, like I was just morbidly curious myself.
Sure.
And then just real quick to finish up, and then OJ's old house, which no longer exists because the person who bought the property tore it down and built something new. That's only about like 10 minutes from the murder scene, by car, and if it's late at night or there's no traffic, you could probably do it in 5 to 7 minutes. Sorry, like I'm not trying to sound like Marcia Clark or the LA District Attorney or anything like that. And so where OJ used to live, which is like north of Sunset, is only 1 or 2 blocks away from a middle school called Paul Revere, which is kind of like I guess it's like a magnet or a charter school in Los Angeles. Oh, and then the last thing is the restaurant Mezzaluna was got its 15 minutes of fame, I guess, during the trial, since Ronald Goldman worked as a waiter there. And
you've been studying this.
Yeah, so I'm well, I think if you live in the area, you kind of like get absorbed by it, and then the TV show from 5 years ago, I guess, piqued my interest in it again, because I remember thinking, like in 1995, there were no smartphones, and people barely used the World Wide Web. Like there was like Netscape was like, there was no Internet Explorer, or maybe there was.
No, there wasn't. No, not then.
And so most people would get their updates by watching the news. I mean, I remember there was like an OJ wrap up from like 7:30 to 8 on a local channel. And anyway, so the restaurant Mezzaluna, where Ronald Goldman worked, it was in a notoriously terrible location, because the restaurant didn't have any it didn't have a parking lot. So for a restaurant not having your own parking lot, that's like, like how are you going to get customers? And so for a while, before and after that restaurant started, and then shuttered for good, it was like every year there would be a new restaurant or new something that would come in, and then around 2000, a Pete's Coffee went in there, and then finally it's like, oh wow, it's like there's a Pete's Coffee in here, and that should be here for a while, and it was until last year, when the landlord or the owner of the building, and this was pre-COVID, it had nothing to do with COVID, wanted to replace it with, I don't know, like not a coffee shop, not a restaurant. I think either
a juice bar.
Yeah, it was either a juice bar or a shade store. Like I'm not kidding. It's like one of the two. But a juice bar, yes, like they have been popping up. That's really funny, Todd. But anyways, yeah. So that's the end of my OJ story. Sorry, I didn't mean to go on for as long as I did.
It's great. I think that's great. That's exactly the kind of thing our our watchers like to see, is sort of like, here we're bringing on the guy to talk about Bitcoin, and then we go off on the OJ tangent. It's great.
Well, it's kind of what we do.
Yeah.
Oh, well, okay. Well, then, I mean, that's
you've tapped into the gestalt, as they say.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, good. That's great to hear. So, okay, so then one last confession about OJ. So,
Sure.
So I'm a little embarrassed to say, but I think this is at a time when Jeffrey Toobin was more of a serious writer or journalist, or would actually write about something interesting rather.
I don't know. He's only known for one thing right now.
I know. So he wrote a book about the O.J. Simpson case. I think it was called The People versus O.J. Simpson, and then that became the the basis for the miniseries on FX. And so what was interesting to me about his book was he has a whole chapter on Brentwood. So about Nicole Simpson, and her neighbors, and then O.J. Simpson and his neighbors, and just he gave a like a quick picture of the residents who lived in Brentwood, and this would be in 1993, 1994. And as I'm reading this, I'm like, not much about this neighborhood has changed, because at that time, like 1994, a lot of people who live in my in my neighborhood, I'd say maybe like 25 to 33% don't have regular 9-to-5 jobs. They're like screenwriters or aspiring screenwriters, or they have some they have like an eBay store, or like they all have unconventional like occupations. And I remember reading a sentence or paragraph like that in the Jeffrey Toobin book, and I was like, oh, so I just like laughed while reading this, because I was like, wow, this is so funny, because like like this description of Brentwood is almost the same like today as it was then. I guess the only exception would be that they're more like homeless people, or they're like homeless, there's like a mini homeless camp like not too far from where I live, and that's something that wasn't I mean, it's something that wasn't around like even 5 years ago. I think maybe around 2015, 2016 is when it started. I'm not exactly sure when, not one of these like momentous dates that I try to keep track of, but it's but it's like every time I have I see one of my old neighbors, like people either who lived in the building or lived on my block, and I'll run and they'll come visit me, and they'll say, what is going on San Vicente Boulevard? Like like they're so like they're more homeless people or homeless tents now than there were even 6 months ago. And I said, I don't even know. I haven't even, like, it's like like rarely go out of the house for like long periods of time, unless it's to, get food or groceries or, car wash, Costco, that kind of thing. But, or maybe I've just gotten so used to it. You just don't notice it anymore. But it's it's a little crazy, and sorry, I keep doing this, and I think it all started with Eric Garcetti, who's currently the mayor of Los Angeles, and he's been the mayor of Los Angeles since 2013. Yeah,
Okay.
2013 is when he was first elected, and then he was reelected in 2017. So Eric Garcetti is the son of Gil Garcetti, who used to be the district attorney in Los Angeles, and he was a district attorney during the OJ trial in 1995.
Oh,
gosh, it all comes together. you thought we were just
you've circled us around back to the beginning.
Yeah.
How you did that. Solid.
Thank you. And believe me, I did not mean to, to talk about O.J. Simpson and and the Garcettis for about 15 minutes or but I did, and I apologize. So
no, it's great. That's exactly what we're looking for. That's exactly what this is supposed to be about. So I take it you're like native
OJ,
born.
of course, was also in the airplane movie.
What's that?
So it's there. All right. I'm saying OJ was also in the airplane movie, so we can connect that
he was
too.
supposed to be originally the Terminator.
Ah.
Oh, wait. Airplane 1 or Airplane 2?
1.
Airplane 1, yeah.
Okay. Oh, right. And because he was also in The Naked Gun, and it's the same producers or creators for both.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the Zucker brothers, right?
That's right. Yeah.
Okay. Well, what is our topic for today?
Well, I was just going to
Besides
ask him if he's. We do have a number of questions about Bitcoin that we can actually ask about.
Since we have Mr. Bitcoin.
Yes. So you're much more the expert on Bitcoin than I am, though. I tried to get by $1,000 worth of Bitcoin about a month ago, and it was so hard to get through this, whichever type I was trying to get. They're one step away from asking me for a blood sample. I was like, come on, guys, it's not this hard to buy stock.
Right. Oh, I'm curious. Do you remember which company or exchange you tried to purchase
I'll
from?
pull it up because it comes right up on Brave. So.
Of course it does. Yeah, Brave, of course.
I think it was Gemini, maybe.
Oh, and and it was very. They were asking you for, I guess, ID and all this stuff because because I have a Gemini account also, and I can't remember if I had to go through the steps you alluded to, but because like laws in U.S. versus Canada, I think they're similar, but not the same. So how did things go with Gemini? So like, did you just end up stopping the process?
Yeah, I gave up. I was like, look, I'm not like, this should not be, it should not take me 30 minutes to buy $1,000 worth of something.
That's true. Have you tried let's see the Voyager app, as in the Voyager brokerage house, which I believe is based in Canada, or
okay,
or they're listed on the Canadian exchange.
Okay, well, I'll look at them then. I've just pulled it, looked it up, and have the link handy, but I'll check them out later.
No, but I'm glad you asked this question because I I don't know, I have about maybe like 8 to 10 different like wallets or like places to buy, sell, or trade, and so sometimes I forget how, sometimes I forget how difficult it can be for someone trying to purchase Bitcoin their first time, because like either I'm used to these steps, or I've completely forgotten about these steps because I did them a few years ago, or maybe even a year ago, so, if it's just, difficult for someone like you to just, start an account on Gemini, and, to the point where you get frustrated that, or that it's obtrusive or invasive, that you just stop the process, then, that's good for me to know, because that could be one, hurdle in, in people either being skeptical or frustrated with it.
So are you like a professional advocate for Bitcoin, or are you just someone who's like in the world but not trying to?
Who likes names everything after?
Yeah.
Oh, so no, I'm not a professional advocate in the sense that I'm not affiliated. I mean, I don't work for a Bitcoin related company, no, it's I guess it's more of a hobby, and I mean, it kind of started out as kind of like a joke gimmick, maybe like 7-8 years ago, when like no one really knew what this was, and I thought it was like an interesting theory. Like the project had an interesting mission, which was create a digital currency that is completely that has no central bank authority,
and can be used for drug deals.
Yes. And it's a digital currency that's that also has that is encrypted, has a layer of cryptography. So it interested me from a from the cryptography angle, the whole digital currency angle, and then the technology behind it, but then also just the the mission statement of, hey, let's create a currency that is completely divorced from the Federal Reserve or any central bank in the world. So I just thought, that like mission, or that objective was made for an interesting project, because I knew that it would appeal to a lot of like I don't know, like Austrian school, school of the Austrian School of Economics, or libertarians, when it comes to monetary policy. So I knew it would attract.
That's an interesting point. That's an interesting point, I think, because our currency here, regular currency, used to be dependent on gold. We had gold backup, and whatever year it was, that was no longer the case. And so, while Bitcoin seems a little goofy in some ways, it's not much worse than than a currency without a gold standard, I think.
Right, and it was 1971 when Nixon took us off the gold standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then what I also find interesting about the whole, gold, just like how the U.S. has, or the U.S. government has treated gold in the past. I believe from 1933 to 1975, it was illegal for Americans to own bars or coins of gold for
Thank you, FDR.
Yes, for for purposes of like wealth storage. Like I think maybe everyone had like you could buy a certain amount of gold for for jewelry or watches, so there were certain exceptions to that, to that 40-year rule. But what's that? Oh yeah, exactly. But I guess I still think it's a little weird and shocking that the U.S. government banned the sale or ownership of gold for 40 years, and it wasn't too long. I mean, it was 1933 to 1975, so it wasn't really that long ago.
Well, 33. We're doing all sorts of bad things then.
Yeah.
It was a depression. The government wanted to control the gold supply because that was the thing, and then only comes about because you go off the gold standard that you can now buy it.
Exactly. Yeah. And then just yesterday or 2 days ago, Jerome Powell, Federal Reserve chair, I didn't read the entire quote, but I just saw the headline where Powell compares Bitcoin to gold, not to the dollar, or he says, Bitcoin may be a substitute for gold, but not the dollar, which I thought was a weird thing to say because
it is a little weird.
Because I mean, I don't think he meant to do this, but by comparing Bitcoin, by saying Bitcoin could be a substitute for gold, but not the dollar, I almost feel like that's a bullish statement on Bitcoin, but I don't think that's what Powell was trying to do. So I wasn't sure why he would say such a thing, or what he was.
I would assume it's just because he's just recognizing the fact that it's starting to come into the place where it might be just, and it is acting a lot like gold does. I've watched have you watched the Valuetainment interview with Craig Wright, the guy who claims he's the founder of Bitcoin?
Oh, I know the name, but I have not. Just because I've been trying to. I mean, I didn't cancel him. I've just been avoiding him. But anyways, I know the name.
But he basically said his big problem with Bitcoin is he wanted it to be a currency, and it's now acting more like gold. And I think that's something the Fed chairman's also recognizing. It's acting like the way gold works, where it becomes this hedge and an investment, and people are putting money into it, and the value is rising, but no one goes around using gold as a real currency anymore. And the same thing with Bitcoin is that it all seems to be locked up in value. And like Craig Wright said, I have all this billions of dollars in gold in Bitcoin, but if I tried to liquidate it, I could not get that value.
He might be right about that.
He's really complaining that he lost money, right?
No, he's more like he's just like complaining that he wanted it to be as instrumental as PayPal. Remember when the internet really we first back in the early 2000s, we used to get cards for like Facebook credits, and other people were giving out credits for using on, and no one else was able to make this kind of digital currency alternate. And Craig Wright's like, look, I made this thing to be a digital currency. I wanted to be used as in exchange for dollars. And no, there is some people making transactions with it, but it's not as universal as I'd hoped.
Well, it's interesting you bring up the PayPal example because I believe so in 1999 both Peter Thiel and Elon Musk were employees, or yeah, I think they were both employees at PayPal, or they may have been co-founders. Like
They're the founders.
Yeah.
I'm not exactly sure what their what their titles were, but I believe PayPal is where Elon and Peter Thiel first overlapped, and
Yes.
I think it was Peter Thiel saying this, and he either I think he wrote this. Yeah, that's right. He wrote a book called 0 to 1, like 5 years ago or 3 years ago.
Oh, I have it.
Yeah, and
I have the book. Yeah.
And I think he has a chapter about his days at PayPal, and he wrote that initially the goal of PayPal.
Wait a second.
Go ahead.
The goal of PayPal was to create a currency for the internet, like a digital currency for the internet. That was their, that was their original like dream objective, right? Like their dream mission, and then they there were many hurdles to it, but to make a long story short, PayPal ended up.
I don't remember where I left it.
Being becoming popular because it was an easy way to settle eBay auctions. So
right.
So PayPal ended up just becoming like part of eBay. Like it became like eBay's checkout process.
Yeah, eBay bought it.
Right. And and then
and it's more complicated than that. They bought it and sold it and bought it again, or something bizarre like that.
So eBay purchased PayPal. I forget the year. It may have been 2005, but I'm not. But or maybe before. And then at one point, PayPal PayPal was responsible for 25% of eBay's revenue at one point, and it was also by far its most profitable center or subsidiary, and then eBay eventually spun off PayPal into its own company with its own ticker.
Yeah. Also, I think eBay went public, and then the next day, eBay. I'm sorry. Try again. I think PayPal went public on an IPO, and then eBay purchased it like the next day. Something like that.
Oh, I didn't. Okay. I
something crazy like that happened in quick succession. Really strange.
Got it. And we're talking like 2002, 2004 in that ballpark.
Yeah, it's all foggy right now, but something like that happened.
Okay, got it. But the story gets more interesting because let's see. So PayPal becomes an independent. I mean, eBay spins off PayPal, and then now, even after becoming an independent company, PayPal was still eBay's main or default payment processor until this year, or until a couple years ago when eBay announced that they would sever their ties with PayPal and work with a different payment processor. I think based in Sweden or the Netherlands, like somewhere in Europe. A company, I guess that's well known in Europe, but not well known in the U.S. It's I can't remember the company right now, but now eBay is has sent out emails to all its users and sellers, saying that, oh, you have to make these changes because we're no longer working with PayPal, so we need your bank account info, or your credit card info, or just your non PayPal financial info to be part of the eBay, the world of eBay. So it's kind of funny how like they started out as two different companies, and then eBay purchased PayPal, and the two companies, for probably for almost 20, for at least 15 years were just like synonymous with each other. And then now they're not only independent, but they won't work together anymore. So
that is weird. That is very weird. I wonder what the backstory is on that, because that just sounds very strange.
I suspect that PayPal's fees are higher compared to other payment processors. That would be my only guess.
I'm going to guess someone was sleeping with somebody, but that's okay.
That's also true. That's also true. I mean, not true, but also a real possibility. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I'd like to get through a few of our member questions before we get
Of course.
on to.
Oh, he's got his list.
Okay. What are the chances of Bitcoin breaking 100? James Salerno asks, what are the chances of Bitcoin breaking 100K this year?
I think the chances are very good, because currently it's about currently it's around 53 or 54,000 as we speak, and I think what's interesting is that unlike the last major bull run in 2016 and 2017, which was driven back then by a lot of retail money or retail day trading. What's happened this year, or really like last year and this year, is that you have more institutional money and high net worth individuals not only purchasing Bitcoin, but also promoting it. It's like well, to give you one example, there's Michael Saylor, the founder and CEO of MicroStrategy. Now, I used to work as a data analyst for about 10 years at various companies, and work with various business intelligence tools. And one tool that I did not work with was MicroStrategy, but I just remember people complaining about MicroStrategy's tools, how it was slow, or how it wasn't user friendly, blah blah blah. I usually blame, based on my experience as a data analyst, people blame the software way too much. I think it's more I think it's more reflective of the user than the tool, but that's another topic that I don't want to get into. So, or just don't get me started there. So this company MicroStrategy that probably no one's ever heard of, unless you've actually like worked with their work with their software, which I'm guessing most 95% of the world hasn't, or 90% of the world hasn't. So sometime in July or September of 2020, Michael Saylor decided to, and I'm assuming he got approval from his CFO and the board of directors. I'm not exactly sure how what the approval process for this would be, but he started purchasing Bitcoin as as part of the company's cash reserve. So I think normally public companies, well, companies, but public companies especially, there are rules about governing cash, and I think most of them, put them into very liquid accounts like a money market or commercial paper or even just treasury bills, maybe like 1 year, 2 year maturities at most. But Saylor decided to say, well, what if we took 1% or 5% of our cash balance and put it into Bitcoin instead of putting it into a money market or a T-bill, because his argument was twofold. One is any interest we gain off a money market or T-bill, we still have to pay taxes on it, and then two, T-bills and money markets are not a good hedge against inflation. So he was worried about the value of the dollar decreasing, and so the value of the company's total cash would also diminish. Mm-hmm. And so he thought purchasing Bitcoin would be a good way just to maintain parity, maintain parity against inflation. And then he, I guess, starting in December, he started going on a buying spree. I mean, like, not him personally, although I think he personally, has his own,
I'm sure he does,
couple $100 million in Bitcoin personally, but MicroStrategy, they started going on a Bitcoin buying binge where I think they have at least $1 billion worth of Bitcoin, maybe I don't know the exact number, but it's somewhere in the billions, and so they've been doing this for the last 3 or 4 months aggressively, and so if you look at their stock price, MSTR, it's gone up 100-200% in the last 6 months, and I think most if not all of it can be attributed to their purchases of Bitcoin. So in some ways it's acting as a pseudo ETF. Acting as a pseudo Bitcoin ETF, MicroStrategy, and then companies like Square, and then to a much smaller extent Tesla, and then a couple other public companies who are not as well known. They decided to convert some of their cash, whether it's like 1% or 5%, into Bitcoin, again, just to maintain parity or just as a hedge against inflation.
Elon's been pushing the Dogecoin recently.
Yes.
Which is, I love it. Meme, doggo meme turns into a financial instrument. That's so crazy.
Yeah, and it's such an Elon thing to do. I mean, it's almost like Dogecoin was made for someone like Elon. I think it fits his personality and his cult following, like almost to the T. So
Another question we had here from Aaron Miller. Independent of the merits, what are your expectations regarding Bitcoin's adoption by the general public?
Well, so there, it'll probably take, I'm guessing, another 4 years let me just break down the numbers. So currently, estimates are, the best estimates I've seen or read are, there are about 100 million Bitcoin users or owners, holders worldwide, and 30 million are in the US. So I guess on the one hand, I wasn't surprised, or what surprised me more was a 30 million US number versus the 100 million global number, because 30 million, that's about 9% of the US population. And so I think as far as adoption as I think just a few hours ago, Tesla announced that you can buy a Tesla with Bitcoin. So so if you're in the market for a Tesla, you can purchase it with Bitcoin if you so desire. Like, talk about your cheap purchases, right? Tesla or Bitcoin. But I would think that at least in the US, that number would have to get to, I don't know, maybe like 60 million, or maybe 100 million holders for people to spend their Bitcoin, to buy stuff on Amazon or to buy
groceries.
Yeah,
groceries.
that's what I was thinking. When I finally pay my pump, fill up my tank of gas with the Bitcoin. There you go.
Well, so like this situation has been changing more quickly than I realized, because just a couple days ago, Visa made an announcement that they want to help their 70 million, they want to help their 70 million merchants in the US, or maybe it's worldwide. I can't remember. But Visa announced that they want to be Bitcoin friendly, so they want to help their clients get set up with Bitcoin or upgrade their software so that they can handle payments via Bitcoin. So that's one recent development, which may or may not increase adoption. The other thing is there are companies like Crypto.com is an exchange that's based in Hong Kong, but it's but it has a large user base in the US, and I believe in Canada as well. But they have a pretty wide global reach for a small but growing company. I think they just hit their 100. I think they surpassed 100 million users back in January. So on Crypto.com, you can purchase Bitcoin, you can purchase Ethereum, and a dozen other cryptocurrencies that they offer.
And Dogecoin?
Dogecoin, I can't. I think you can, but I had to double check. And oh, so what crypto.com does and is they offer Visa cards, either that function. They're Visa debit cards. So what you can do is you can use your debit card, to purchase purchase groceries, or fill your car with gasoline, or or buy something at Starbucks or Pete's or whatever. And so what they'll do is they'll take your crypto balance, whether it's in Bitcoin or a combination of Bitcoin and other other cryptocurrencies, and so when you spend it, and you could be in the U.S. or you could be anywhere in the world that accepts Visa, they'll automatically like deduct the dollar or euro equivalent. I mean the fiat equivalent of what your crypto balance is at the time. So it's it's a catch-22, because merchants need to accept it, but the merchants won't accept it unless their customers demand it. So it's
and the merchants won't really accept it until they can pay their employees in it, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking about.
Yeah.
Oh, I never thought of it that way.
Oh yeah, because that's what I mean. Any merchant, any consumer-facing business, their most important concern is meeting payroll, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And if you can't use your these bitcoins to fulfill payroll, not gonna be interested.
That's a good point. There's one. Well, I guess there are a couple of payment processors.
It brings up an interesting point too. If you really want Bitcoin currency to succeed, it makes sense that the problem you need to solve is that making payroll.
Yeah.
And if there was some bank that could do a convertomatic between Bitcoin and people's take-home pay, that would solve that problem.
Yep.
Yeah. So there's a company called BitPay, which is a I think the biggest Bitcoin payment processor in the world today, and what they do is I think they give merchants an option of you can if you accept Bitcoin or or any other cryptocurrency, when the payment goes through, by the time they settle, they settle in the fiat currency of your choice. There's the other option where you can just leave the Bitcoin as is, and then the merchant can just do the conversion himself, at a at a date of his choosing. But Don reminded me of a couple things. One is there's a company called bitwage.com, and they've you want to get maybe like 50% of your current salary direct deposited as Bitcoin. So what they'll do is I forget the exact mechanics of it, but basically, you give them your direct deposit info, as you would do to your employer, and then I think you give the name of your employer as well, or actually, okay, I'm messing this up somewhere, but basically,
okay.
That's okay.
they like provide this service where you can tell them, hey, look, this is my bank, this is where I work, and every 2 weeks, like company, this company direct deposits, my wage, you know, into my Bank of America account, right? And then what Bitwage will do is they'll take either 50% or whatever allocation you told them to take and convert it to Bitcoin. That's one thing. The second thing you reminded me of, the current mayor of Miami, I believe it's Suarez. I forget his first name. He's been he's been doing a lot to pump Bitcoin as like he's become a sort of Bitcoin evangelist himself. He's been encouraging city employees to take part of their salary in Bitcoin. And he's been talking to the city council about allowing people to pay city taxes or fines or fees using Bitcoin.
All right.
Now
That'll hasten the acceptance.
Yeah.
Certainly.
Now, I should also add that there's a Bitcoin conference in Miami on June 4 and June 5. So I'm sure he's trying to pump up.
And you'll be there
as well. No, I will not be because like all these like even before COVID hit, I like taking shoes off at the airport like still bothers me. But like now it's like I have to wear a mask and take shoes off and possibly like show a vaccine passport. So it just seems like
that's insane.
So yeah, I mean like I know Florida's open, but like it's like I don't like wearing masks in general, and it's actually been like I've gone grocery shopping less, and I think a big part of it is because like I just can't be bothered with a mask. I know it sounds like a trivial thing, but it's
no.
It's a giant infringement on our liberties.
Yes, and it's really annoying, right? Yes, it's really annoying. So so like when I hear people like being on 6-hour flights with a mask the entire time, I'm like I could not do that. I don't think I could have it on for like if there was a shield, the little shield, like if that was allowable, like I think I could deal with a face shield, but I just can't deal with a mouse. I mean a mask over me the entire time. But no, I'll be skipping it, but it is available virtually. I've only been to one Bitcoin conference, and it was actually, believe it or not, in 2013 in San Jose. It was at the convention center, the San Jose Convention Center, and
know it well.
And it was May or June of 2013, and so my friend and I went. And I remember at the time, most people I spoke to were like, what, like, wait, what is Bitcoin and why is there a conference about it? And this is 2013. So I try to explain to people. But I think, most just kind of thought that it was some, all right, whatever. He's not really telling us where he's going this weekend or what he's really doing in San Jose. But I remember meeting, so a lot of companies had like booths set up, and so there was a little table booth for Coinbase, and this is at a time when Coinbase was just about a year old, and I think they had, like 10, 20 employees, but there were only, like 4 or 5 people at their booth, and I remember speaking to their to their co-founder and CEO, Brian Armstrong at the time, and I asked him what his what his interest in Bitcoin was, or how he decided to create this company. And he said, well, I used to work at Airbnb, as a software engineer. And so at Airbnb, I could see that there was a lot of friction points in terms of settling transactions. So, there are foreign exchange fees, there are foreign transaction fees, there are wiring fees, and so he saw that the company Airbnb was spending so much money on just transaction fees or exchange fees, wiring fees alone.
Yeah.
That wow, like, what if we could make global remittances, sending money across the border, what if we made it cheaper and less expensive? And so that's how his interest, so that's what we said got his interest into Bitcoin and motivated him to create this company Coinbase, which filed its paperwork with the SEC to go public sometime this year, and at a pretty crazy valuation. I think last I heard was maybe 100 billion, 50 billion, or 100 billion. So it's but I may have misread a headline, and then Airbnb to this day still doesn't accept Bitcoin, which I still don't understand, because and actually it's if you're in hospitality, whether you're an airline or a hotel, I would think that especially if you're a hospitality company that does business all over the world, and you have to convert currencies from, I don't know, from euros and pesos and yen into dollars or whatever. I'm surprised there hasn't been more acceptance of Bitcoin by Airbnb, or just companies in the tourist and hotel space.
Well, yeah, it's certainly good, because the ones that have to convert currency anyway.
Exactly.
You're
exactly.
right. That would seem to be pretty good.
Exactly.
Hey, I know our last viewer question is about O.J. Simpson, but I have to go. I have to go about now.
Yeah, I was about to say something about those lines, but yeah, we'll definitely be. It's been great talking to you there, Mr. Bitcoin, and I'll be. I also have to get going. I have another show to do with C Writer in an hour.
Oh.
Okay, no problem. I know I didn't get to everyone's questions, so if
I think we actually got through everyone's questions. The only question we didn't get through is your own.
Oh, right. Well, I can.
Well, when we do the full, I'll be posting this later tonight, and you'll be. I'm sure you'll be. If anyone has any follow-up questions, you'll be able to answer them in that post.
Yes.
And don't be too freaked out by the image that is actually used in your spot there.
Well, he asked me to put up the giant tongue, so I think that's
okay.
the giant smiley face. I'm sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
yeah. It's the it's like the Rolling Stones logo, but with
Right.
yeah,
A Bitcoin.
yeah.
Hey, well, thanks for helping us out, and thanks for letting us all
That's
know
good.
about all this information, interesting stuff.
Yeah, and David, I will send you a note about alternatives to Gemini.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
Sounds cool.
Okay. Well,
right.
thanks for tuning in,
Take
everyone,
care.
and we'll see you in the comments.
Great. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.